Well, I decided to try something kind of fun I've always been wanting to do. Basically, these cigar boxes, you can order used, just empty cigar boxes online in these, it's sort of like a mystery pack. You order a pack of 10 and they just send you a bunch of random different sized cigar boxes. And a lot of people will make these into musical instruments, and I always thought that was cool and wanted to try it. My intent was originally to start with like a cigar box guitar or cigar box banjo, but my brother randomly mentioned he was wanting to try to learn violin, and I have no idea how to play violin. I'm terrible, but I thought, hey, it would be kind of cool if you could make a violin out of a cigar box. So I had one that looks like this, kind of looked a little more regal. Not that there's going to be anything regal about a violin made out of a cigar box, but I figured it kind of fit the look, so here's what I came up with. And little cigar box fiddle here, complete with the oh-so-traditional guitar tuners. So I didn't exactly use traditional construction, to say the least, but and it was kind of I had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of made it up as I went along. So I figured I took some random pictures of stuff as I went, a little bit of video here and there. I figured I'd show you those and kind of show you what I did with this guy. My plan with the future ones, though, with like I'm going to do a cigar box guitar and a cigar box banjo. I'll try to be a little more step by step with that one, so you can see exactly what I did at every point, and that way you can get a little more detail. But for this one, I figure I'll show you at least what I got, and if you have any questions, send them to me, and I can see how I can help out. Okay, so here she is up close, and I figure I'll try to show you some tips and tricks about the way I built it, and trying also not to be too long-winded. You can see those holes, they're called Renaissance F-shaped holes, and I basically used my CNC to do that, but I found the templates, I just typed in Renaissance F-shaped hole, found some pictures online and sized them appropriately. You could print them out and just cut them out that way by gluing them down and using some tools to cut it out. That's doable as well. As far as the neck, which is what most people would be curious about, I searched for violin neck template and found one. Found a fingerboard template from the top and from the side, and it also has some nice radius gauges for the round on the top. And basically what I did is I glued up some birch, 3/4 inch birch, and I just double stacked it. So I think it was 2 inches wide but 3/4 inch thick. And then I put this template on the side. I just modified it a little bit with 2 straight lines to make it so the neck was just like this without the scroll. I could put guitar tuners. Just kind of tied into that volute shape at the bottom and then made everything straight. Cut that out basically and sanded it all nice and true just on this dimension, with this literally glued to the board. After that was all nicely trued and the shape was all perfectly formed, sanded, then I used the fingerboard template. This line represents where it hits the body. I put that on there where it should be located. This lines up with the little dot there. That lines up with the tail end. And cut the taper onto the neck with the bandsaw, and then trued it up with some sanding blocks and everything. Made sure it's dead flat and nice. After I got that, then I finally worked on shaping the neck, and I basically put, this was not on the body at this point. It was just facing downward. Everything's all squared over. This is all squared and same thickness. And you draw the shape you'd like the end to be. So I just did a little triangular taper like that. Volute, same thing. I drew a shape on there that I'd like it to be. And then you kind of use those as endpoints. Like, don't shape the neck past this point because you're going to end up needing to use that. Same thing with about here. But to shape the actual neck, it's squared, and you basically cut some flats. I use the faceting technique, and you cut a flat using a rasp to file it down to like a flat that's about, maybe 3/4 of an inch on either side, and you try to make them exactly the same. And then after those 2 flats are there, the little sharp corners that those flats kind of end up making, you go ahead and file those flat for maybe 1/4 inch or so. 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, and mirror it on the other side, and pretty soon you'll get in the ballpark, and then you can start rounding it over. That'll kind of assure that you keep a consistent taper through the whole thing. Then after that point, you kind of got to get down to shaping these before you can finish things off. So that's when you come in here and maybe with some chisels kind of start carving away. You can use a saw or even a spindle sander to start carving away and getting a lot of the meat off. As you get closer to dimension, you can twist a spindle sander with a small diameter spindle in here. You can use rasps. I used a combination of rasps and the spindle sander. And then when I got pretty close on both sides, the spindle sander really comes in handy here, wrapping that around. Then I started using what they call cabinet scrapers and really scraping down all the little parts, and then moved on to sandpaper. So it's a bit of a process. I know that doesn't go into the details, but I just try looking that up, faceting technique, and just experiment on some cheap wood. It's kind of fun. If you really don't want to do that, you can actually buy a pre-made neck with a fingerboard from China that's not finished or anything for like I think it's like $10 shipped. So that's kind of cool. Fingerboard, similar idea. Put the template on a piece of wood I liked. So this one, cut the taper and the end width or end length. And then after that was all tried and true and good to go, I put this on the side of the board, cut that shape out and this, and made sure that was dead flat with a block, sanding block. And that gave me sort of a square topped piece, which I needed to create this taper on. And that taper you can kind of see right here, the radius of the fingerboard. What I did there is I kind of roughed out general idea on an edge belt sander by just kind of twisting it as I sanded it. And that's not going to be accurate at all, so you're just using it to get a lot of the meat on the ends off. As you get closer, I recommend making a sanding block with that taper in it. There's a way to do it with a router swinging on like a little arm thing. I just happen to have my spindle sander happen to have a 6-inch drum on it that matched that pretty well, pretty close. So I just sanded a block to have that taper on my thickened sander, and then use that block to sand this thing nice and tried and true. A lot of people do actually, after that's established, they'll dish the middle of the neck down a little bit so that it's about maybe 0.5 millimeter, tops a millimeter lower than, if you were to put a straight edge between here and here, it would be lower in the middle. You can do that. It's supposed to help the violin even play a little nicer, but I actually had it without that at first and it worked fine. So anyway, that's the idea there. The tail piece, I wouldn't follow my lead. Mine was just kind of, I CNC'd a block and then made a wedge to make it at an angle, and then realized it wasn't strong enough, and then put this tail piece strap on there. You could probably just buy a tail piece. They normally go on with a little cable over an end pin that's nice and strong. You could probably just buy one and do that. You might have to shorten it somehow. Or you could actually make the little tail piece out of wood shorter and then put a cable running through it that could wrap around an end pin. That would be a better idea than mine. Mine's strong now, but it's just, it took a lot of futzing to get the angles all right. And then that bridge, I just CNC'd that out as well. A normal violin bridge isn't quite the right size for this because it's based on an arch top. It'll be a little shorter. It'll have an arched footing. So I flattened the feet and stretched it up about 7/16 of an inch, CNC'd it out. But again, you could take that and just hand cut it out with, they have, you could scroll saw this pretty easily too, and then file it. Or you could buy a bridge and just sand the feet flat and elevate it by putting a block underneath. That would work in this. It is a red-necked violin, so you could definitely get away with that. I'll try to stop talking here. I know there's probably more details that would be interesting, but I don't want to bore you to tears with too much info. Alright, so now to torture you with very, very disturbing violin playing. Like I said, I don't really play these. Well, not really, I don't play them at all. I play mandolin a little bit, and mandolin is tuned the same as a violin, so you can kind of guess where frets would be and give it a go. So I'm going to try to play a scale. I tried it a little earlier and it was dicey. But here's just the string. So we're in the ballpark there. Get the double string. And here is an attempted scale. Oh man. Apparently the violin is going through puberty. I think that might be the problem. But you can tell that it sounds a bit like a violin. I just can't make it sound truly like a violin. But I think the tone's actually there. It's not amazing. So it's still a cigar box, but it's a cool novelty and a good fun way to get into violin playing, and it just looks cool. It's a good conversation piece, and it seems like it's pretty playable. You know, it feels really comfortable. I got the action to the specs people recommend, so kind of cool. Feel free to send me any questions you have, and I'll share my vast amounts of violin knowledge, which is very, very little. But good luck. Hopefully you'll have some fun with this, and I'll try to take some more detailed video of the future instruments. Thanks for watching.